I do want to dig into Oprah. I have my notes here. I want to talk about the quote she has is, what is holding you back from the highest, truest version of yourself? And I think she's so amazing because it really addresses so many different questions within yourself. Knowing what that is, figuring out what is important to you, having the awareness to know if you're doing that, are you sabotaging yourself, and then obviously the courage to do something about it. And it was cool because in in this workshop, I'll call it, that's kind of what she did. She had a workbook, she helped people break it down, and went through some things. And a couple people have asked me, like, what was the flow of the show? She had some hype people come out at the beginning. They were super, super entertaining. And then she facilitated the whole thing. I mean, it was amazing. She came out then and did her thing. And then she brought out a meditation and sound bowls. Duo, that was amazing. It was really cool to be in an arena when 15,000 people are completely quiet. Like, that's something. And then she came back out. We did some workbook things. Then she brought out Layla Ali, who had like this incredible story, and I'll get to that in a second. But she was awesome. Muhammad Ali's daughter, for those of you that aren't familiar. And then we did lunch. Panera catered all these lunches. It was nuts. Such a crazy, way to set up like the scale of an event like that, feeding 15,000 people. And then came back, went through some more exercises, talked about wellness. And I'm going to go through some of her, like her quotes from that. I took a lot of notes per usual. And then she brought out Julianne Hough, another like movement person. I think that was actually right after lunch. And then Amy Schumer. And I kind of had low expectations for Amy Schumer, to be honest. But she was pleasantly surprising. I was actually, hey, Case. Amy Schumer was better than I expected. She's so funny. Less insights about life, I think, more than just having an interesting conversation. I have some notes from her too. And then that was it. And then Oprah did like a closing story, really touching story about the death of her mother, actually. And then she closed it out. It was from like 9 a.m. I think they started around like 9:30 and ended about 3:30, something like that. Highly recommend. I think she has at least 4, maybe 5 more spots on the tour in around the country. I know they just did one in Atlanta this weekend with The Rock. And what's really cool about this is that she is posting all of the videos, the interviews she does. So like whether it's The Rock or she did Gaga first in Fort Lauderdale. I know a lot of friends went to that. And she's posting all of them on her YouTube channel and as podcasts as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing her conversation with him. If you have not listened to the Lady Gaga one, highly, highly recommend. It was amazing. Like, and the things that she wants to do to talk about mental and emotional health is incredible. So highly recommend that. As far as some of the quotes that Oprah shared, she was saying this event is really clarity about who you want to be and how you're going to get there. And she said this at the beginning, and she said, no matter who you are, where you are in life today, there is always room to kick it up a notch. And I just love that because it's like that commitment to lifelong growth. Then she talked about, which wellness was woven in through the whole show. Actually really interesting. Weight Watchers is rebranding and changing their name to WW, which I can't remember what what they stand for in their new thing. Kind of a miss that they only put it on screen once, I feel. But anyway, and they're rebranding to make it not just about food, right? Like we all know now that health and wellness is about more than what you put in your body. It's your thoughts, it's your actions, it's your mental health. Like all of these things kind of wrap into the ball of mental health. So yeah, it was just super interesting to see that woven throughout. And she had a lot of stories. Like she said she lost, I think she said she lost like something nuts, like 40 or 50 pounds back in the 90s and 91. And she literally like wheeled a wagon out on stage of like how much fat that she lost. It was crazy. This was in her show. She put pictures of it at the event. And she said, I did it in such an unhealthy way. All I wanted to do was lose that weight. And I wasn't thinking about, is this sustainable? Is this healthy? She was hungry all the time. And it was just a really tough time for her in her life. And she said immediately within, less than a year, all of the weight plus more was back on. She talked about what wellness is when all things are in balance in your life and you're opening to welcoming the flow of shift in your life. I thought that was really, really cool. And she said specifically, I'm obedient to my flow. So she is continually moving and evolving in the flow of her life, being aligned with things that she feels are important to her. She also talked about how planting the seed, like every day we plant these seeds, right? And it's our job to cultivate them and help them grow. And this event specifically was a planting the seed for many people, I would assume, who have never worked on this or heard about this kind of stuff before. And then she also shared, I love this one, energy is a vibration that you transmit. You have to be responsible for the energy you bring into the room. I thought that was so powerful and so, it's just really about how you live intentionally and thinking about how are you showing up. And it is your responsibility. She also said, we're all teachers for each other, which I love and totally believe. And she wants us to think about consciously balancing mind, body, and spirit, that these are all things that are connected and related. She is a very big fan of Gary Zukov and his books, and I need to add them to my list because I haven't read them yet. But the personality serves the energy of the soul, and if you're in alignment with who we are, it kind of goes back to the flow that she was talking about earlier. She also said you can get more intention when you have clarity. Intention rules everything. And she said, I don't get the luxury of not moving through life intentionally. And she kind of explained, like, if she does anything wrong, anything, it's on the nightly news. There's no room for error or mistakes. She has to show up intentionally all the time. And then she told a story, and I heard her talk about this before, but life whispers first before it knocks you upside the head. And there's you'll hear whispers in your life, whether it's telling you something, whether it's a bad relationship or situation in your life. There are these whispers. If you don't address or listen to the whisper, then it becomes a problem. If you don't deal with the problem, it becomes a crisis. And if you don't deal with the crisis, it's going to become a disaster. So it was cool to see that. And it's so true. Like, even, if you have issues at work or things and you're like, man, this just doesn't feel right, address it, because it is going to continue to build and grow. Okay, moving on to Layla Ali. Had no clue. So I knew she was a boxer. I knew she was amazing. And she was, highly decorated. Had no idea she grew up with zero athletic background. Like, what? She did. It's just, you're the daughter of Muhammad Ali. How do you have no athletic background and grow up not participating in sports? It's nuts. She's also 40 now, which I had no idea. But she said, I'm going to share a couple of her quotes. She's been in the greatest shadow of all time, and she's still writing her own story and encouraged others to do it as well. I thought that was so moving and powerful. Her first fight that she actually won was a professional fight. She couldn't do anything amateur. There was like 80 media outlets there. Can you imagine all of that pressure? And she said she ended up knocking her opponent out in 54 seconds. I think that's pretty cool. She said, don't let anyone else's opinion of her change her mind or deter her. And not even her dad. Her dad did not want her to box originally. And then he eventually changed his mind. She said, and I think this is one of her best quotes, but confidence comes from preparation. It's so true. I know I feel so much more confident if I have a speech or a presentation, when I'm rehearsing things and I prepare for them. And then a couple of questions and she also talked about going with the flow, adapting to change, and a couple thoughts she put out there. What thoughts are you consuming? Again, what are you inputting, not just into your mouth, but into your brain? Have you thought about your legacy, and have you thought about how you want to be remembered? I think that is especially true today, just with the passing of Kobe. But it's so important how in every day, she said, every day you have the opportunity to write your legacy. I thought that was beautiful. Moving on to Amy Schumer, she had some kind of, she was just talking, and I don't know if she realized some of the stuff she was saying, or like how impactful that it was, but I thought these just, almost offhand comments were super powerful. So she said, the best thing you can do is take care of yourself. If you let things get to you, it's on you. You have the power to let things go. She said, I'll tell you one joke she had. She's like, I really feel like this event should be called Ocella. I thought that was hilarious. She told some really funny stories about her husband too. She also reflected on that she felt bad about some of the things that she said. And she's kind of gone back and said, if it's going to hurt someone's feelings, I don't want to say it. And I think she's learned that lesson. She said she's learned from criticism. There are good critics that she's learned from. I think that's so important for us to constantly think about how we can get better. She also said that her movie, I Feel Pretty, actually made her do the work of being more confident inside. So like she thought she kind of had it figured out, and then she's like, oh no, I still have to work on this. I thought, and that's so true. Like there's stuff I work on all the time where I'm like, oh yeah, I need to work on this skill right now. Then she said, love this version of yourself wherever it is, whatever it is, wherever you are. I thought that was really powerful. And then towards the end, she said, you have to do bad to do better. She talked about bombing and literally every bad thing you could ever think of happening to a comedian on stage. She's like, it happened to me, so I'm not scared anymore. I thought that was so hilarious. And it's true, right? We have to do bad in order to get better. We have to fail a bunch to figure things out. And in closing, so when Oprah came back on, she just kind of closed with this. She said this often. Many people say this. Whatever has happened to you has happened for you. And it's just a huge mindset shift and perspective of, okay, the things that are happening to me, I can either get down about them or I can learn from them. I can take that in and learn from whatever is happened to me, and I get to decide what I want to do with that. I just thought that it's such a powerful mindset shift. And then the last one was feel the power of your life. So being just aware of what it is that's important to you, that lights you up, and then be in the flow of that, making sure that you're living with intention. Again, she closed out with that message. Super, super powerful. If you ever have the opportunity to see her, definitely go check her out. And I can't say enough good things about that experience. It was really cool for me to spend some time investing in me and doing a reflection and thinking about some of the things that I want to work on in 2020. So thank you guys for joining. Let me know thoughts, comments, other questions you have about the event. Happy to hear. And I also just released a workbook to help you kind of figure some of this stuff out. Oh, thanks, Case. I just released a workbook to help you figure out, like, what are the things that are important to you? What are the things you want to work on? How can you do all of the things that you want to do? Because we can do everything, right? And that we set our mind to, but we can't do everything at the same time. I like to say, you can climb all the mountains, you just can't climb them at the same time. You have to go one by one. So appreciate you guys. Always look for all of your feedback. I love it, and I will catch you very soon.